Welcome back to Antique Central. This week we're going to have a complete change of pace and we're going to do a deep dive into my 1970s Triang Hornby train set. I'm not going to rush through this, so it may be you choose to watch it in parts. So what I've done in the description is to chapter the video. We're actually in my attic room at the moment, and the box that the train set is stored in belongs to my grandfather, who served in the Second World War. And I believe this is the trunk he took to Washington DC in the United States when he travelled over there with Sir Winston Churchill as part of his entourage during the war. I know my dad tells me that he was away for a long time in Washington, and not too sure exactly what they were doing over there. And any military historians, perhaps you could give me a heads up on the purpose of that visit. So what we're looking at here is edition 16 of the Triang Hornby Minic catalogue. It was printed in 1970 and it has 44 pages, packed out with not only Triang Hornby railway sets and accessories, but also Triang Wren. Not sure exactly what that is. I might do a little bit of research into that. I've never heard about that before. So that's one to check out. Now, the four companies that are included in this catalogue are LMS, which stands for London, Midland and Scottish, GWR, which is the Great Western Railway, LNER, which is the London and North Eastern Railway, and SR, which is the Southern Railway. So pretty well, this catalogue covers the entire country. What more could you ask for? As I mentioned earlier, not only does this catalogue include the Triang Hornby train sets, but it also includes the Triang Minic electric car racing sets and accessories. I didn't own any of these, but looking back, I wish I had. So the good news is I'm not going to drone on while I'm flicking through this catalogue. I'll leave you to view it at leisure in the peace and quiet. Now, this collection is a little bit of a family affair because in my granddad's wartime box, along with my Triang Hornby train set, is my dad's Hornby Dublo set. Now, these were produced between 1938 and 1963. So my dad was born in 1933, so that fits exactly with the right time frame. I don't know a great deal about this set at all. All I know is it's stood the test of time. It's metal, including the locomotive and the carriages, whereas my set is plastic. Now, I'm not saying that it's better quality back then. You can be the judge of that. There are far more experienced people out there than me in terms of collecting train sets, so I'm certainly not going to choose between the two in terms of which one is best, and I certainly wouldn't win that argument with my dad anyway. You could let me know in the comments below what your opinion is. While we're having a quick look through my dad's old train set, I thought it would be a good time to learn a little bit of the history behind Hornby and Triang, and the meaning of the name Dublo and where it comes from. Not being an expert, I sourced this information from trainshop.com, link in the description below. So, Hornby Dublo was an early brand name for models produced by the company that we now all know as Hornby. As I mentioned previously, the brand was launched in 1938 and featured model trains that were roughly half the size of the O-gauge models that had dominated the model railway industry for many years previously. Now, in case you're wondering, O-gauge is a scale of measurement in model making which is generally taken to mean models built to a scale of approximately 7mm to the foot. Hence, OO gauge or Dublo gauge being the equivalent to approximately 4mm to the foot. In other words, half the size. As a result of the reduction in size, OO gauge or Dublo made the hobby more manageable and affordable to the masses. Basically, it was a classic example of marketing genius. World War II saw a temporary halt to the production of Hornby Dublo models, but the brand soon re-established itself afterwards, albeit without clockwork models. In 1959, the 3 rail track system was also dropped to keep the company current and competitive. In part, and despite its quality, the three-rail system was too expensive for your average high street buyer, and almost inevitably, Triang's plastic-bodied models started to prove significantly more popular with enthusiasts, and the Hornby Dublo range began to fall out of favour with consumers and the mass market. In 1964, Meccano Limited, who owned Hornby Dublo, was taken over by Lines Brothers, who owned Rovex Scale Models Limited, who in turn were the producers of Triang. I hope this is making sense. And in 1965, the company was rebranded Triang Hornby. It's also why you will see the name Rovex on Triang Hornby boxes, in case you were wondering. The new Triang Hornby brand continued manufacturing models that closely resembled the original Triang offerings. However, some Hornby Dublo models were to enjoy a new lease of life thanks to some of their tooling being purchased by Wren, who was conveniently also owned by Lines Brothers, and they launched their Triang Wren range in 1967. As I mentioned earlier, you can see examples of the Triang Wren range in the catalogue we flicked through. The parent company that owned Triang Hornby was eventually split up in 1971, and Triang Hornby continued under their own steam, if you pardon the pun. Still operating from their factory in Margate, the company rebranded once more to become Hornby Railways and set about improving their model specifications to make them appeal to a wider audience by introducing finer scale wheels, separately fitted detail and enhanced paintwork. The Hornby Dublo story seems to be one of acquisitions and rebrands, and that's certainly the case. But after a turbulent journey, and any influence from Meccano by now a distant memory, in 2020 they're finally turning a profit and should be around for a long time to come, fingers crossed. Bringing us bang up to date, there is even a behind-the-scenes TV series featuring the Hornby factory, which if you can find it, I highly recommend watching. I'm sure you've now heard more than enough from me, so you'll be relieved to hear the time's finally arrived to pause the video, get yourself a cuppa, sit back and enjoy the rest of the film as I reveal my own Triang Hornby model railway collection. To get the rolling stock started, this is the only engine I've ever owned from back in the 70s, the R855-462 Class A3 Flying Scotsman in LNER livery. That's easy for me to say. I'll never sell this, and in fact, now I've rediscovered my train set, I'm going to be looking for a way to display a selection of my models in my office. Right, that's it. Enjoy the rest of the video. So what does this little train set mean to me? Well, it transports me back to one of the happiest times of my life. A time with no cares or responsibilities, no concept of the world's issues and problems, and no awareness of how quickly time passes. It reminds me of family gatherings, long English summers and friends I've now lost. But most important of all, it reminds me of spending time with my dad, running my Triang Hornby Flying Scotsman round and round the layouts for hours on end. And that's why I will never sell it, even when all the wheels and coupling rods finally fall off that plucky little train.